You are listening to Go Wellness Webinars with your host. This is Kate Archibald, and as usual, we got on the other line, we got Regan Archibald. He's going to be
Hey guys.
presenting some amazing stuff today. So let's we're going to be talking a lot about our upcoming event and some of the great things that we just had this last weekend. We had just a phenomenal event with stem cell therapy implementation training. We had some hands-on training. Dr. Oakton, one of our medical doctors, he was training on different injections, different IVs, different autoimmune cases. So some really cool training. And that was our first event ever on stem cell specific, and really exciting to see how that's progressing. We got a lot of excitement out of that group and in that area, the medical field, and so really excited about that. We're going to have another one probably Friday, October 13th in Salt Lake, so that'll be the Friday before our session 3 of Healthcare Entrepreneurs. So yeah, jot that on your calendars, make sure you know when that is, and then I'll be sending out some more details and information on that. But today we're going to be jumping into kind of pre-training for our session 2 that's coming up in LA July 15th and 16th, and that's going to be on thinking like Elon Musk to create a bigger and just becoming an overall better healthcare entrepreneur and providing better service for your patients while growing your reach. So got some awesome stuff that Reagan's going to be covering with you guys today. If you haven't had a chance yet, shoot an email over to info@gowellness.com and get registered for the July 15th and 16th event. Seats are filling up quickly, so we need to make sure we have a good head count. I'll be sending out to clients. I will be sending out an email for you to click a couple buttons and give me your head counts. And then for anyone that's not a current client of Go Wellness, I'll be sending out some links for you to learn a little bit more about the event, and then you can get registered through that. Or if you don't get that in the next within today, shoot us an email at info@gowellness.com, and we'd love to work with you and figure out how we can help you implement more functional medicine and other services that can help change your patients' lives. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to the one and only Regan Archibald, who's going to be covering the topic today. Regan, take it away.
Sweet. Hey everybody. So let's jump in because today we've got this massive opportunity. Anytime you see it in any industry, whether it's technology or mechanics or engineering or computers, I mean, anytime you see that, where an industry is in this transformative state and there's massive disruption going on, then that's where we need entrepreneurs to actually pull things through. You know, the reason why we created the Healthcare Entrepreneur Program is so that we can train people who are entrepreneurial minded in really implementing what I consider to be the greatest healthcare systems and processes on the planet. So really excited that you guys have joined us for this mission, this cause, this purpose. And so today I give you just a little dose of reality on how you can become a better entrepreneur, how you can actually think like brilliant people like Elon Musk in moving healthcare into the right direction. Because I was just on the phone with Michael Fitch. He's a medical doctor. I don't know if he's on the. Is he on here today, Kate? You see Dr. Fitch? Actually, I don't think he's on here.
No, not on right now, at least.
Okay. Yeah, he said he's going to try and move his patients around, but he's a medical doctor, and he went to medical school just thinking that he had this nice open pathway to having the sustainable income, being able to support his family, being able to help a lot of people, being able to transform lives. And he went and worked, he's working in Alaska, then he got a job down in Hawaii, and he was another doctor, and it was primary care. And what happened is the insurance industry just they took what their office visit, all they're doing is office visits, 5, 6 an hour, and what they were making about $70 a visit. And of course, if they do procedures and some other things, the price goes up, the payments. And suddenly the insurance companies just looked and said, hey, we're only going to pay you guys $30 for the same visit. And so the healthcare entrepreneur, the owner of the company, he said, well, sorry, and he had to let Dr. Fitch go. And so then Dr. Fitch right now is working in Oklahoma at he's working under for the federal government at one of the Indian tribes there, and it's just really got the rug pulled out from under him, where he invested $350,000 in his education, which many of you have, and he thought he would just have this nice sustainable job. But even in the primary care industry, nothing is stable anymore. And I think one of the biggest vulnerabilities that many of us get ourselves wrapped up in is being stuck on this insurance. And we think, oh, okay, insurance is great. And maybe it's great if you are just kind of a one-person show and you've got massive high volumes and you don't mind just working your ass off your whole life and never really digging in to help a person. That's fine. But if you want to transform somebody's health, then we've got to start getting out of this thinking pattern. So now what Dr. Fitch is doing is he'll be working with one of my good friends, Aaron Ishigo. We're now getting ready to launch our affiliate East-West Health Clinic in Hawaii. So for those of you who want to go help out in Hawaii, let us know. We'll have some work for you out there. Anyway, so Dr. Fitch will be kind of our supervising physician there. He'll fly back and forth to Hawaii. And then the other thing he's doing is getting his from North Carolina. So we're going to get him a clinic set up there. But the reason I tell you that story is because what Dr. Fitch realized is that I was talking with him last night, and he came to the stem cell training over the weekend. And that was, he called me on Monday just to thank me for like blowing his mind, just for all the great speakers, the content. Like Kate said, Dr. Oakton, our medical doctor down in St. George, was just incredible in teaching the injections and the procedures. And then you had Elliot Spencer, who's just the genius scientist behind it all. But and then you had just a room, like we're packed full. We filled up the house on our first ever stem cell training, but you had a room full of really genius people. I mean, we had Michael Taylor there from Oklahoma, who teaches IV therapy. He's a naturopathic doctor, but he's a legend. He's been around for 40 years in the industry, and just he was in the group and just sharing really cool things about how to enhance the immune system. So it was just brilliant. And Dr. Fitch just called to thank me, and then he said, "Hey, do you mind if can you give me some advice?" And it just was really striking to me, because I realize now more than ever, if doctors and acupuncturists, chiros, nutritionists, if we're not all entrepreneurial, and if we don't start like really getting ourselves out there, we're all going to be out of work. We're all going to be out of business. I mean, you think of the worst case scenario is, we'll treat 3-4 people a week and we can't even make ends meet. Whereas there's this whole segment of the American population who's just suffering. They don't know where to find help. They're used to finding help at that same medical clinic where Dr. Fitch got let go of. And now these doctors are, they're going to have even a harder time of getting real care for these people. Essentially, the medical system is so choked out by greedy people at the top wanting all the profits that there's actually no care that's able. I mean, you can't even have a conversation with somebody. It's just managing prescriptions. And so we have millions. I mean, there's 300 million people, 350 million people in the United States. Actually, maybe it's 330 million people in the United States, and about 80% of those people are sick and tired of the system, but they don't know where to turn. And so that's what this whole webinar is about today. I was going to do it on some functional medicine stuff and medicine of the future, but in our LA event, and once again, that's coming up July 15th and 16th, we're going to have a whole room, and it's just the functional medicine, medicine of the future, and then we're going to have a room where we're training you on all the business systems. So bring your entire team to LA. Where it's going to be at the Renaissance Hotel, so right by the airport. It should be easy in, easy out. But you know, I was going to kind of preface everything and talk more functional medicine, but then I was like, you know what? I need to get the healthcare entrepreneurs, I need to give them some ways to think about things so that when you guys are, you know, approaching your patients, when you're looking at your profession, your career, you look at where you spend most of your life, which is at work. I want you guys to realize the massive purpose that you've got. I mean, it's transformative. I think there's no better industry to be in than the one we're in. And if you don't fully believe in what you're doing, then you know that's step one, is just being completely passionate about the lives you're changing and what you're doing. So the first thing that I want you to do is just think about what progress would you like to make 3 years from now in order to be happy with your results. So think about where your practice is now. So you have Morpheus here, and as Cade was starting, I was like, all right, let's help you. For those who want help, we can help you. That is, hey, I want help. And then you need to reach out to the right sources. A lot of people ask for help and then they stop short. They don't even follow through on the little bit of help that they've gotten. So first thing is, how you know, how do you see the future? How do you see the next 3 years looking? So I want you to actually physically write this down, because your thoughts are going to be disorganized until you actually put them in writing. I can't tell you how many times I've had kind of like a feeling, like an emotional feeling, and I have the end result in mind, but then it's not until I actually write it down that I start to see all the details to backfill everything that came into my mind. And then I review those every single morning. I spend about 20 minutes just going through the major projects I'm working on. So the very first thing you do is you say, where would you like to be 3 years from now? So maybe that's a 7-figure practice, maybe it's an 8-figure, 9-figure, whatever it may be. Maybe that's where you're just like, man, I'd really like to be able to pay my bills. I'd like to be able to help some people reverse their autoimmunity. But you know, write down what progress you'd like to make, and then you have to think, okay, well, in order to get there, what are the new skills and capabilities that I need? Where am I most intimidated in this process? Okay, so that's, you know, and now let's talk about biggest challenges. What are your biggest challenges right now? So what are some of the challenges that each one of you experience? And feel free to type it in or unmute yourself and chime in. But if you look at that, you know, what are your biggest problems? What are your biggest challenges? And some of those challenges, they can be, you know, oh, I don't have enough new patients. People, you know, when they come in, they don't sign up for care. The other thing that, you know, some of your challenges might be, well, I don't know how to hire the right people, or, you know, I don't have the right team around me, or, you know, in my area the economy is depressed. And I'll go through a real email that I got not too long ago from somebody who completely became a victim to what's going on around them, because, you know, your challenges and your obstacles, the interesting thing is if you just like really look at those, that challenge and that obstacle is your strategy. That's exactly the direction you need to go in. And that one thing that keeps bothering you, that you're procrastinating on, that's exactly what you need to focus on today. So I don't know if any of you make goals, but one of my mentors, Dan Sullivan, he actually he has this challenge that, you know, every night you think of the 3 major things that you're procrastinating on, and then those become your 3 action items for the next day. So he believes in only working on 3 things at a time, and I believe in that 100%. So, you know, my 3 procrastinations last night. I need to get the Go Wellness webinar formatted for clients versus non-clients. I want to have 2 different webinar streams. The other thing is revamp the stem cell PowerPoint flow. And with the new science that I've learned, especially after this weekend hearing from all the geniuses there, I want to change the webinar for our stem cell lunch. The third thing is I need to tell the truth to a couple of my practitioners that are working for us, and tell them the truth. That means I need to confront some issues that I'm seeing in their care. So those are my three things today, and if I do those three things, I'll be 100% happy. So what are yours? What are you procrastinating, and then that becomes what you need to work on right now, because those are your challenges. Can you overcome them? I think, the only way you can overcome them is step by step. And then the biggest thing, just like, we ask our patients on a scale of 1 to 10, how coachable are you? How coachable are you? You guys are on this webinar, so probably a 10. But, I use Morpheus as kind of the example here, as a metaphor to how do you want to keep doing things the way that you've been doing them and hopefully getting a different result? Or do you want to really change? Are you going to step out of this insurance model, step out of the systems that you've built up? Maybe some of you for years you've built up this practice, this clinic, this model, and it's time to let it go. It's just like, when I was at the beautiful Glacier National Park last summer, and it's just gorgeous, all the glaciers up there. But I went, I think it was the east side of the park, and there was a massive forest fire, and it burned down the entire forest. But what was growing on the forest floor, I mean, you had all the black charred trees that were still standing, and then on the ground there was new growth, and the most beautiful flowers were growing up, and the contrast with the black on the new green and like purples and yellows was just gorgeous. So some of you need to burn out those old ideas, burn down your damn clinic, for crying out loud. Some of you, think about how good it feels to detox it. Like over the weekend, I came into our Park City clinic, and we just got rid of all the shit out of the waiting room. I was like, man, I don't know how we accumulated so many different like magazines and papers and these tables, and now it's like this nice, simple, energetic flow. So that's what you've got to decide. Are you going to move in a new direction? If you are, then you've got to get rid of the old, and let's move forward. That's who we can help. So biggest thing, healthcare entrepreneur training. The thing you have to believe in first and foremost is that you have a greater purpose in your life and in your practice. If you look at any of the research on goals and achievement and really success, people who actually have a daily practice of writing down their purpose, writing down their goals, and Harvard did this study back, I mean, since like the 80s, but the people who wrote down their goals and reviewed those goals on a daily basis were like 80 to 90%. Now, I think it was 90% or more, 90 to 95% more likely to achieve their goals than the people who did not write them down and did not review them. So, if you really believe you've got a greater purpose in your life, then don't fool yourself into thinking that you're just always going to remember that purpose. You need to review it every single day. And so one of the first trainings that we're going to take you through on the Healthcare Entrepreneur Program in Elon Musk is the Mindset Morning, how to get your head right for the day every day, how to go to sleep at night so you can actually put your brain to work on something, solving one of those great problems in a creative way. At night, that's where you go through your procrastinations. That's where you think about, what are the three things you're going to accomplish tomorrow. Your brain already has it figured out when you wake up, and it's very busy at night anyways. So first thing is, believe you have a greater purpose in your life and in your practice, because we are, we're not just practicing in an industry where it's like, well, let's try and sell more widgets and cameras and skateboards. We're actually in this position where we can transform people's life. If someone doesn't have their health, they've got nothing. So second thing is, you've got to add some functional medicine into your practice. And I don't care what you call it, functional medicine, medicine of the future, transformative medicine, Einstein's medicine. You've got to get it out there. A lot of you are just doing our stem cell program, that's great, it's beautiful, but stem cells, remember, if you look at them, Yeah, stem cells, when you put mesenchymal stem cells into somebody, it's really what they're doing is nourishing your body's own stem cells. And then that's where the real differentiation starts taking place. So if exponential differentiation, if you have young, healthy, vibrant stem cells from like a 3-year-old, what will happen is, and they did this study in China, they actually took the cardiac cells from a 3-year-old who had, had died, and then they took it from a 35-year-old, and this patient had died as well. They took the heart cells, and then they had a patient who was 67, took those out, and they just looked at the differentiation rate of the stem cells from the hearts of these different aged people. And what they found is that the 3-year-old, his stem cell differentiation rate was every 24 hours. And that would be, one cell becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16, 16 becomes 32, 32 becomes 64, 64 becomes 128, 128 becomes 254, and then it's just off to the races. And so the 35-year-old, the differentiation rate's about 48 hours. So it like cuts it in half, so you can see it's not just the difference between like a small percentage, like it's not just the doubling. It's like by the time you reached a month, that one cell becomes a billion cells in the child. In the 35-year-old, that one cell becomes like 200,000 or something crazy, and then in the 65-year-old, it's like 100,000. I mean, it's so low because the 65-year-old, the differentiation rate's about every 72 hours. So what we're doing is we're actually nourishing the stem cells in the body so they can differentiate at faster rates and actually accelerating healing. And you cannot do that if the environment's not right. So when you add functional medicine into the practice, you create an environment where the stem cells can thrive, because all the stem cells in your body exist around the capillaries, around all the blood supply in your body is where stem cells exist. Meridians follow the blood supply. There's meridians. The stem cells migrate from the perivascular, they migrate from around the vessels, and they get into the Bongan ducts, which are the meridians, and then that's how our body actually heals. So if you don't have the right environment and there's inflammation in a person's vascular system, then no matter what you do with stem cells, that person's chances of actually thriving are very limited. And then, okay, so the next one, are you willing to market better, learn fast, and hire a team? Your greatest asset, there's two of your largest assets in your clinic, your two biggest assets are your ability to market and your ability to have a team. Because if you get hurt and you can't go to work, you need to have somebody there to support you and to support your patients. Likewise, if you can't market, you're not going to have new patients coming in. And marketing doesn't mean like, oh, you got to get out there and like attend every health fair and put every ad in the newspaper and all those things. Marketing can be as simple as, hey, if you're going to work with us, and this is what, and one of the tips he gave, he told me, he's like, hey, Regan, you got a book, you're an author, that's brilliant, but you need it every time someone comes to sit down to work with you. You need to tell them, they need to get 2 of your books, and you need to tell them, part of the agreement that we have if you're going to work with us is that you'll at least tell 2 people and bring 2 people into the clinic so they can become patients when you leave. Is that something you're willing to do? Yes? Okay. Slide them 2 copies of my book. So that can be marketing. Marketing can be where you provide such an amazing experience and an amazing service that you just have people flooding into your office. And that's what I'm seeing over the years. Once you put in the years, you just get all your credibility just goes through the roof. And we get people, former patients, all the time coming in. So that's marketing as well. So final thing is, do you want to move healthcare into a better future? Because this can't be self-serving anymore. Gone are the days where there's like, you go to seminars and there's like all the dogs are, there's the alpha dog that like keeps peeing on a
Hey, Regan.
Oh, go
Regan,
ahead.
I'm assuming everyone else had the same experience, but you were just you went radio silence for about a minute there.
Ooh, okay. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, I can hear you fine now.
Okay, I'm sorry. Um, I think I was talking about marketing, and then the other thing I went on to is uh-oh. The other thing I went on to was, do you want to move healthcare into a better future? I would just, the point is we can't do this alone. And so healthcare is all of us as a community. So we're no longer islands. And, no longer do you go to these seminars like, what Dr. Dudley said, Kate, after the event. He was like, it was so refreshing with people who were so intelligent but had no ego. It gets removed. Gone are the days where you go to the seminars and it's like, it's like dogs peeing on a tree. And I've been to several of these where you just have the one person teaching and everybody else, it's like a competition, but no more. We're all looking to grow from each other. Um, so yeah, we have this amazing opportunity. And you guys as healthcare entrepreneurs, I mean, you can see some of the end results. This is many of you know Danny, one of our clients, Danny Rasmussen, is from Seattle. Um, when he broke 100K, he was just incredibly stoked. And it's so fun when, you can see in his team, he said our team had a goal of, 80K, and they were just really on track to meet it. And then, boom, they hit that goal plus 20K. I mean, that's a really inspiring, experience that he had. So, I think the biggest thing that we're looking at is, when you're setting up to be a healthcare entrepreneur, you got to realize that there's a lot of barriers that we all have to confront. And some of these things we have these ideas in our head. Well, I think I'll just keep it small. Um, excuse me. Um, I don't think I could pull off something that complex. I don't know if I could do that. I'm thinking too big now. Let's just play it conservatively. And this is another email that I got. Kate, you know who this came from, out of Texas. I got this about 6 months ago, and this was her excuse why she couldn't implement the program, and it didn't work for her. And so many of you are going to have these same excuses, the same mindset. And I don't bring this up to bring up any negativity. I just bring it up as let's tell the truth about the realities of the barriers you're going to have to confront. Um, One of the things she had to confront. Kate, do you know who this is, by the way?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. She said, I've lost several patients because of the increased cost has scared them away. So the only way you ever increase your cost is when you increase your value. And so, once again, it's not like, we started building these $7,500 plans and asking patients right out of the gates, hey, you need to pay us for this, without pre-education, without them fully wanting to do that program and being on board. So, once again, you're going to lose patients if you don't set up the stage properly. That would be like you coming to a car dealership and you're like, well, cars, most cars, you can get a car between 20 to 30,000, and that's about what I want to pay. And then you show up and the car salesman is like, hey, here's the only car that we have, and it's $90,000 or it's $100,000. Of course you're going to say, no, I can't afford that. There's no way. But if the salesperson does like Tesla did with me, they got me pre-educated. I started looking into all the ins and outs of the car. I followed Elon Musk. I followed the technology. I looked at reviews. I saw the value in a car like that. The cost savings over the long run was far more than I could have if I bought a $20,000 car versus $100,000. And so then when I went in to buy it, I just walked in and I said, yeah, I'm here to buy a car. And so much different. And that's what your patients are doing. Once you sit down with them, they're going to be like, yeah, I know this is an investment, and how much is my programs? So number two, most people already have a nutritionist whom they are on a plan with. Now, I don't know about you, but I challenged Cade yesterday. he said, you know what, with chiropractics, you could, in St. George, you could pee and hit one, and Kate actually did. So, so,
That wasn't supposed to be repeated.
oh, sorry. No, so,
The point
in,
was is
in,
there's a lot of chiropractors in my community.
yes, there's a lot of chiropractors, which is awesome because, if you think about it, if there are more practitioners, then that's where having systems and having programs that are designed in a way that differentiates you from your colleagues is the most important thing you can do. I mean, if I was a chiropractor, like, Dr. Taylor, he's our chiropractor in St. George in our clinic there. We do chiropractic. We're not competing against any clinic. Even the what's it called, Red River, even Red River, who are, it's a chiropractor who's doing functional medicine. We're not even competing against him because we're doing a completely different genre of medicine. So there's no competition. There's plenty of nutritionists around. I mean, you can read, there's thousands of books on nutrition. There's so many online forums. I mean, you could argue that there's far more exposure for a nutritionist trying to get your business than even chiropractors, is what I've seen these days. But once again, you're not just doing nutrition. You're not just talking about, we want you to eat, 140, 130 grams of fat, 100 grams of protein, 50 grams of carbs. That's not what you're talking about. What we're really talking about is finding, finding that niche, finding that new genre, and that's where healthcare entrepreneurs are really powerful. So that, who cares? I mean, there's in Salt Lake where I practice, for some reason, in this little small mile radius, that's where there's like 35 acupuncturists. Like the majority of the state practice, we're all next to each other. But not once have I ever said, "Hey, I'm going to leave you and go to this acupuncturist." I've had people tell me they're going to do community acupuncture because it's cheaper and they can afford it, but then they end up coming back anyway. So, all right, so get that out of your mind, because what that attitude is there's nothing you can do about it. So, once again, that's really disempowering. If you look around and you say, "Oh man, everyone's doing this," and so and they're on a plan, and that's basically saying that there's nobody out there who really needs care. Now, I don't know if you've spent any time in a Western medical clinic, but they are packed with patients, and these are people who do not know where to go. So, get over it when you say this. So, number 3, it's being frowned upon in the acupuncture community because this school, it's a small city, and I don't want to get a bad rap. So, a bad reputation. So, once again, it's like, well, who are you doing this for? Are you doing it for your patients? Or are you doing it because you've got a bigger purpose? Or do you want to stay small like the rest of the people in your industry? Last time I did the numbers, and it's been about 5 years ago, for acupuncturists, there's about 30% of acupuncturists who actually bring home more than $36,000 per year, and of that percentage, about 5% make more than $100,000 a year, and I think that's pretty crazy. So, I don't know about you, but if I'm worried about my colleagues thinking I'm doing something too big, which I sat on the Utah State Board. I just resigned a couple weeks ago, but I've been sitting on that board and they would always be like, "Man, Regan, you're doing some really big things." And I'd always offer, "Hey, I can help you do the same if that's something you'd like." But they're, "No, we love what you're doing." So, we need more people thinking big. Like healthcare entrepreneurs, the reason we use that term is because it doesn't just stop with you. It doesn't stop with just acupuncture or just chiropractic or just nutrition or just functional medicine or just stem cells. It's like, no, we're practicing healthcare. We're expanding every single avenue that we possibly can. All right, number 4, it doesn't feel right to ask for this much money when they can get all of these things much cheaper in my town, USA. So we put that in there because it's anywhere in the USA. everyone is a holistic coach, so once again, it's the value that you're presenting. When you really put your programs together in a succinct way, every touch point in that experience that the patient's having, the moment they get on your website and they have a feeling with it, the moment they call your office, they have a feeling with down for you for treatments. There's a feeling with that. There's an emotional reaction. There's a response to it. And all of those things, they increase the value. The way that you're bundling all the services, you're actually reviewing their labs. You're actually taking the time to explain what the labs mean. You're taking them through an education curriculum that costs you over $100,000 to get. I mean, you're providing treatments and care. You're actually touching their body and releasing all these years of trauma. And I don't know about you, but I think we need to be charging more. And we raise our fees very frequently. So if you haven't raised your fees in a while on your wellness programs, do it. We're raising our fees. We raise it on our 4-month, our 6-month, and now we're putting together a brand new 12-month program. So we'll be rolling those out at the next event. So all right, number 5. Most people are fit in this town and don't need all the extra services. I don't know what you have to say about that mindset, Cade, but I'm in Park City, and you see the people here. They are fit. They're active. It's one of I mean, it's not uncommon to be in a coffee shop and you're sitting right next to Olympic athletes and people who just ran an ultra marathon in my neighborhood. They're all over the place. So I don't know. What do you think about that, Kate?
Yeah, I think that in those instances, those are some of your best patients because they're the ones that really want to work on their health and invest in their health. And yeah, maybe you can like there's instances where you want to modify a plan for an athlete where it's not going to be as treatment intensive and as coaching intensive, but if you can sit down with an athlete, really do some deep dive diagnostics and help them see how they can tweak just a few things to get that extra edge, that's huge. Like that, they pay lots of money for that. We have talking about Dan, he treats NBA athlete and just started off doing a little bit of acupuncture because he heard that might help him, and Dan did the pre-education process. He helped educate him, and I think he's a lifelong patient, a friend, and he probably spends I don't know, maybe 25, even probably close to 50K a year with Dan on doing things to take his health to the next level.
Yeah, he just was Dan's biggest check, which was 30,000, and that Dan is your coach, one of your entrepreneur coaches. So, yeah, thanks, kid. No, I agree 100%. In Park City, it's like people want to protect their health. They realize if it goes down, like everything, all the wheels come off the bus. And so, telling someone they don't need all these extra services, that would be like telling a NASA race car driver if they came to purchase a car. Really, you can get from point A to point B. We can save you some money. They're not interested in that. So number 6, chiro or Chinese medicine is amazing on its own, and most people benefit with herbs and acupuncture alone. I just got rid of migraines, which is brilliant. I'm so glad that we can get rid of these symptoms, and I 100% agree that on its own these medicines are amazing. But once again, if you're just focused on one little piece of the medicine, you're not an entrepreneur. So this is sort of like, we're doing the yin-yang balance here. We're looking at contrast, but if you look at digging in, I find that the real thing we're looking for is the end result of a patient who is independent of their health. They don't need you or anything else for them to be healthy, and they're functioning as well as they possibly can because you actually took time to use objective data. Now, we use objective data in Chinese medicine. We do the pulse and tongue diagnosis. In chiropractic, you're doing x-rays, images, you're doing postural analysis, and those are great, but we have to look under the hood. We've got to run some tests, and then once you get those tests back, there may be some regeneration that's not supplied well enough by just acupuncture, chiro. So that's where stem cells come in. And then that's where lifestyle coaching comes in, because it's based on labs. And I can tell you that when I listen to somebody's pulse and I tell them, wow, you've got acid reflux, don't you? And your adrenals feel very flat. I want you to go on this particular diet, and I want you to exercise in this way. People are going to comply about 20% of the time. Whereas if I run labs and I show them from the labs, wow, you've got a bacterial infection in your small intestine, and you've got poor pancreatic enzyme secretions, which is causing your acid reflux. So I want you to be on this particular diet. And here's a graph that flat all day. So you really need to be doing an exercise routine that's going to build up your cortisol. And here's what it looks like. And so if I do that, then the compliance goes up to about 80 to 90%. So it's also working with our patients, meeting them with where they're at. They need objective data. And then when you're using herbs and supplements, once again, you can throw the whole kitchen sink at them, or you can be very strategic and actually get the result. So number 7, people are not committed to their health, and if they do invest, it's usually to a doctor. So Cade, can you comment on that one?
Sorry, I was on mute. I'm not a doctor, so I can't comment on that now. So
Right, because you had this experience, remember?
oh yeah, yeah. So for those of you that don't know my background, I'm a health coach. I kind of have my own story on how I got into health and kind of changing my life through with Reagan's help. But overall, I kind of had the same mindset initially, because I would start off by doing the ROFs and introducing our program and doing presentations to prospective patients. And so it was really intimidating to me to sit down with someone and tell them, hey, you need to do this program, and this is how much it costs and everything there. And so it was pretty challenging. But then I finally realized really what I was able to provide the patients, what we were doing, because we're giving them something that's completely transformative compared to you go to your doctor's office, or you pay for a surgery or procedure. It's going to be just as much, or maybe even 5 times more than what our programs cost. And if you really look at the level of service, the level of care, and the time that we take to dig into someone's case, it's not even comparable. And so if you really see the value in what you're providing, then yeah, that never comes into play.
Yeah, so thanks, kid, because I find too that we're not in the 80s. Like doctors in the 80s were gods, even in the 90s, and people are they're a little bit skeptical, and so and even I mean I think if you have that idea that just because you don't have particular credentials behind your name, that people don't want your help, I mean, you're completely wrong. It's you who are selling them, not the credentials behind your name. So, all right, number 8, once again, if I throw a rock, there are 3 chiros, an acupuncturist, and a nutritionist on my block. I think we covered that enough. Once again, this is a false barrier. This is this individual's ego really got in the way of her succeeding, because she just looked at that and she created a barrier. She said, this is why I can't succeed. And our egos can really, unfortunately, they want to protect us. They want us to not feel any suffering or any pain. And our egos are great at justification. Justification why you can't succeed, why you can't do something, why you can't do a little better, help more people. Number 9, even if they see me over the nutritionist, I don't have nearly as much training. So once again, one other mindset that is just completely not true. I mean, how many nutritionists have you guys talked to who were trained in the completely wrong method? They're trained in the medical establishment that just wants them to be able to put the right IV bags and the right nutrition into patients in the hospital. Um, information from the food pyramid to low fat to the diabetic diet that nutritionists are trained on, and it's just wrong. I mean, the information's wrong. I'd rather have somebody have, 10% of the knowledge, but at least that knowledge is right, than having another person who has 90% of knowledge, but it's all wrong. I mean, I've seen a lot of nutritionists steer patients off course. And but man, the ones that are good are damn good. And it doesn't, once again, it doesn't matter if they've got the title behind their name. When they do have that title nutritionist behind their name, that's when I know this person's serious about their food. And they can give me a lot of inspiration. So, and then the 10th thing, it doesn't feel ethical. So, once again, I don't know on the 10th one. I think the ethical part is just feeling like, and it's not ethical if you don't feel like what the service you're offering and the price that you're delivering those at, if that doesn't feel like the value is matching it, then it's not ethical. And so in her case, it wasn't. In your case, you have to get the value in there first and always provide value first. That's the main thing, and then the cash comes later. So I hope that was helpful. I know some of you get stuck in this, and trust me, we've all been there. So it's not like, that's why I don't want to even touch who this person was. I love her, she's great, but she did fall into a trap, a temporary trap, where she felt just like swallowed up by everything around her and forgot the whole other side of this story. So now remember, this is one side of a mindset. This is a mindset of blame, a victim. The mindset scorecards that I have you take at every event, the mindset scorecard, this is like that 1 through 3 category. This is where a lot of these come up. So if you catch yourself falling into these categories, just go ahead and whip yourself as hard as you can, and then it will take you right out of it. So cool. Hope this has been helpful. Any last words, Cade, that you want to share with everybody?
No, not in particular. Just yeah, you guys keep working hard. Just make sure you have a vision and go after that vision, and we're here to help you. So reach out, info@gowellness.com. We're here to help you and help you achieve your goals and help you create a better future for your patients and yourself. So just remember, we got our upcoming event July 15th and 16th. That'll be in LA area. It's right off at LAX, so really accessible location. Come in and yeah, learn and grow with us. We'd love to have you. So email us, info@gowellness.com, and we'll see if you're a good fit for any of our programs.
Awesome.
Have an awesome day, everybody.